Nobody told you this, but the moment you walk into a room, wealthy people are already sizing you up. Not your clothes, not your watch, something far quieter and far more revealing. There's a man named Rajan, 43 years old. He runs a company worth about 200 crore. And I once asked him, how do you know within 5 minutes whether someone is going to be wealthy one day? He didn't hesitate. He said, I look for things they don't even know they're showing me. That answer bothered me for months. Because if wealth leaves signals, silent ones, invisible ones, signals that exist before the money does, then some of you already have them, and you have no idea. I'll tell you what Rajan actually looks for. But first, let me show you something that will completely change how you see yourself. Most people believe wealth is a destination. You save enough, you invest enough, you arrive. But people like Rajan, people who've built real money, they don't see it that way at all. They see wealth as a pattern, and patterns leave tracks. Long before the bank account changes, the behavior does, the mindset does, the signals do. Here's what nobody tells the 28-year-old sitting in a cubicle, staring at his salary like it's a prison sentence. The signals were already there. He just couldn't read them. The first signal is what I call deferred gratification fluency. Not discipline, not willpower. Fluency. There's a difference. Discipline feels like resistance. You want the thing, you fight the urge, and every day you resist feels like a small war you might lose. But fluency? That's when waiting becomes natural. When you genuinely don't feel the pull toward the impulse purchase, because your brain has already reoriented toward the bigger picture. Walter Mischel's famous marshmallow studies get quoted everywhere, but what people miss is the follow-up. The children who waited didn't just have better financial outcomes decades later, they showed lower stress responses to temptation. Their nervous systems had learned to stand down. That's not discipline, that's fluency. If you find yourself naturally thinking in years, not weeks, not months, that's a signal. Wealthy people can spot it from a single conversation. Ask someone about a goal and watch whether they answer in days or decades. The second signal is far subtler and almost no one talks about it. The ability to sit with financial discomfort without catastrophizing. Here's what I mean. Most people, when they see their savings account dip, even temporarily, even predictably, feel a spike of panic that makes them act. Sell the investment, pull back the contribution, make it stop. And that panic is expensive. Not because of one bad decision, but because panic compounds just like interest does. There's a 31-year-old woman I know named Priya. She lost her job in 2020. She had 6 months of savings, and instead of burning through it in fear, she sat with the discomfort. She called it riding the feeling without reacting to it. She used those 6 months to learn a skill, recalibrate, and ended up at a company paying her 60% more than the job she'd lost. Rajan would have spotted her in 5 minutes. The ability to feel financial fear without flinching into a bad decision, that's a signal. It's rare, and the wealthy know how rare it is. Signal 3, you ask second-order questions. Most people, when presented with an opportunity, ask, will this work? Wealthy thinkers ask, what happens next, and after that, and after that? They think in chains of consequence, not single events. Morgan Housel wrote something in The Psychology of Money that quietly wrecked me when I first read it. He said that financial success has less to do with intelligence and more to do with how you behave over time, specifically whether you can model delayed consequences in your head before they happen in the real world. If you've ever found yourself thinking, but what if the interest rate changes? Or, but what happens to this industry in 10 years? And other people in the room looked at you like you were overthinking. That's not overthinking. That's a signal. Signal 4 is the one that surprises people the most. You notice value where others see noise. There's a tea seller in Pune who was selling tea outside a law firm for 6 years. Same spot, same customers. He started noticing patterns. Which lawyers rushed in with folders, which ones lingered, what dates seemed frantic, what kinds of conversations happened right before people scrambled. He eventually used that pattern to time his pricing, expand his stall, and hire 2 people. He turned observation into capital. He didn't have money, but he had the signal. Wealthy people are relentless, pattern-noticing machines. They walk into a new city and see inefficiency as opportunity. They read a news headline and immediately think, who benefits from this? If you naturally do this, if the world constantly sends you quiet signals about value that others walk past, you already have something most people spend a lifetime trying to buy. Signal 5. Your relationship with money is honest, not emotional. This one cuts deep. Most people have a story about money that's older than their first paycheck. Money is stressful. Money changes people. I'm not a money person. Rich people are greedy. I'll never really have enough. These stories live in the body, not the brain, and they show up in decisions made in seconds. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you can look at your bank statement without flinching, without the rush of shame or the surge of defensive pride, just look at it like data. That is a profound signal of wealth readiness. Not wealth itself. Readiness, therapy, journaling, uncomfortable conversations with yourself, whatever it took to get there, you did the work. And Rajan, sitting across from you in a 5-minute conversation, will feel it. He won't be able to explain why, but he'll feel the steadiness. Signal 6 is quieter than everything else. You protect your attention like an asset. The wealthy treat their attention the way most people treat their savings, carefully, intentionally, and with awareness of what it costs to spend it carelessly. They don't just avoid bad investments of money. They avoid bad investments of focus. If you've ever turned off notifications without being told to, if you've ever said no to something that would pay well but drain you, if you've ever felt the specific satisfaction of 2 uninterrupted hours doing something that compounds, you already operate on a frequency that the wealthy recognize immediately. Your attention is the first form of capital you ever control, and how you spend it predicts everything that comes after. The last signal is the one Rajan told me about, the one he looks for before anything else. He said, I watch for whether someone treats a setback as information or as identity. When something goes wrong, the investment didn't work, the pitch fell flat, the plan collapsed, does the person say that failed, or do they say, I'm a failure? It sounds like semantics. It's not. It's the difference between a person who learns and a person who shrinks. Wealthy people have almost universally failed loudly and often. What separates them is not that failure didn't hurt. It's that failure remained external. It happened to them. It didn't become them. If you've ever stood in the rubble of something that didn't work and found yourself, quietly, stubbornly, already thinking about what comes next, that is the most powerful signal of all. Here's what I want you to sit with. Wealth doesn't start in a bank account. It starts in a pattern, and patterns don't lie, can't be faked, and can't be bought. They're built, slowly, quietly, invisibly, in the decisions you make when no one is watching, in the way you sit with discomfort, in the questions you ask that nobody else is asking. Rajan sees it, the wealthy see it, and now, so do you. If any of those 7 signals felt uncomfortably familiar, maybe that's not a coincidence. If this shifted something for you, you know what to do. Know in the comments what you have gained from this video so that we can improve and keep doing that better. Don't forget to share this video with your loved ones, who will get some insights, because one video is enough to give people enough ideas to change their lives. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.